Hello, friends out there. Uh, we are here with the podcast on a very interesting topic, um, and which is, we are talking about a world today which needs to be healed. We need to be ready for tomorrow. We stay invested in our kids, stay proactive with our health. So, you know, we are talking about nutraceuticals or supplements or probably an alternate food which is healthy, which makes the civilization go to the next level. So, when I look at this aspect, I want to get started by introducing myself. My name is Nabjeet Ganguli, Chief Marketing Officer for Informa Markets. Informa, as you all know, is a specialist and works toward enabling the businesses, the industry, so that we can take them to the next level. We create the atmosphere which is very compelling for business to move to the next level of excellence. So that's what Informa exists for, and Informa actually engages with the industry for. Today, I have the privilege of having with us Mr. Prashant Nagre, MD of Fermenta Biotech Ltd. And as you know that uh, we have Fermenta Biotech Ltd as one of the most progressive and one of the fastest growing company in the space. And we want to use this opportunity to really decode and understand this space of nutraceutical, how it's the progress and where it is headed. But before we get started with all those compelling questions, let's first welcome Mr. Nagre.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, sir, for being part of us. Now, let's try and understand that Mr. Nagre has been in the industry and started his career almost about 3 decades, uh, in the past. And in the last 3 decades, what has been that one thing which has driven you, what was the kind of a passion which made you or stay long for that long and engage with the industry?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nabjeet. This is a great opportunity to interact with you and the larger audience of the nutritional professionals which are out there, and Informa being the bridge between them. Yes, 3 decades is pretty long period, and I think I can only tell you that not one day in this was without excitement. So even today morning when I got up and I had to come for this podcast, my mind was in absolutely fast forward mode to understand and tell as to what my experience has been. So what will be told today will be largely coming out of my own experiences, the things that shaped. So in 3 decades, I think we are today particularly at a very good intersection between pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, science, and public at large. Okay, science, the business, and greater good for people. All three aspects are very important in life to be able to kind of reach and do good. I think when I entered this field, and I have had large experience in different value chains, which is like pharmaceuticals, active substances, antibiotics, painkillers, formulations, injectables, topical creams, fermentation based technologies, biotechnology as a major factor. And through all this, I've seen one thing is that you can bring a solution to people which is long lasting and brings a smile on the face of people. Okay. What is important is that currently, because of my role, which is number one role, which is last 15-20 years, I've been at the P&L responsibility. I've got to sit at the front seat and see more. When you sit on the front seat, you see more. What did I see? I saw that there is a gradual transformation in India from a mindset, which was treatment, to a prevention-led thing. And that's where the nutritional space which is all different aspects, including supplements, special food for different purposes, makes a very, very important role that it can play.
Just continuing with the same question, in fact, what has been when you've been in the leadership for role for that long, what has been the one of the most uh, I think defining moment or the challenging part for you to take your team and company to the next level?
So I think, I mean, your question is very good because now it has started picking up deep things within my mind, which probably I would also not know. So I would also get entertained in the process because these are questions which will have a deep kind of mining, which will happen in my own mind. So I think when I started, all of us start as individual contributors. Okay, we all contribute because we come to the work, we open laptop, we do our own work. But as you graduate into different leadership roles, you start managing teams, managing individual contributors. And I always, as an individual contributor, something like 35 years ago, felt that I can change the world alone. Okay. And somewhere there was one program where they call it as a desert storm because we are all exposed to management kind of training programs. And in Desert Storm, it was about survival. And cutting the long story short, you cannot survive alone in desert. You have to have a team spirit. Okay, you have to have collaborative effort in desert. It's a harsh environment. So is corporate environment harsh. So is business environment harsh. So when you work in teams, you can change things. And that is the first thing that I understood, that you have to work with people. Most important thing that I realized subsequently is that you have to bring best out of people. Okay, as a second principle, I'm kind of giving you the large things. How do you bring best out of people? You cannot bring best out of people without them trusting you. How do you develop trust? You cannot go and buy pills in the market which are sold and you build trust. Trust is a very slow process, should not be fast tracked. It should not be accelerated. There is no accelerated stability study kind of concept here. You have to demonstrate every day through small actions what you mean. And that is what will build trust. Once trust is built, people will kind of start kind of trusting you and then collaborating with you. And once you understand that, then you can. So, what as a CEO you do? You signal to the organization. So, I'm very fortunate that I get to sit at the top, and from there you can signal, because what is important at top, people can see you.
Correct.
And they are constantly looking at you for messaging. They are constantly looking at you to signal things. And you signal things which are very important. And what are those things? In pharmaceutical, healthcare, I think one thing which is most crucial is honesty. Honesty in every single aspect. Honesty in your communication, honesty in your quality, honesty in your deliverables, and consistency. Honesty also requires consistency. It cannot be something that you pick up like a shirt picked up on a Monday morning. Honesty has to be ingrained. Like people do tattoos on their body at different locations. I think honesty has to be engraved on your soul. And I do not see that there are artists, tattoo artists that you can go to. I think that is something when you join workforce, you have to do it on your own. You have to be also slightly fortunate to get right people in your life, and I was fortunate. So those bosses shaped and engraved on my soul that honesty in healthcare is paramount. And that is how you build credibility. So that is, in short, very, very small understanding of what philosophy and leadership style I come from.
Thank you, Mr. Nagre. In fact, it's always we always look at best form of leadership. We think of that it can be seen, it can be found on the book, it can be found on the podcast. I'm feeling it right here, and if you look at it, is the soul of a leader, which you have just touched, and I'm sure you have seen that all these things are extremely simple, extremely non-complicated. So that is what we just understood and experienced. Mr. Nagari, continuing with this discussion is your overall go-to-market strategy. How important is in-person conference and exhibition? And when you compare it with the other channels like digital or it could be broadsheets or anything it could be. So, so how does that in-person work for you?
So I think both channels, that is digital versus in person, have got their own advantages and kind of disadvantages, and also something a complementation of both is what I would kind of suggest. But I come from the old school, and I still believe that the in person interactions are limitless. Okay, the word limitless. So what happens is that look at this podcast. Okay, this is an in person podcast. We will have ability to provide response to each other. Okay, it becomes interactive. When I'm talking to you, you can still have questions in your mind, clarifications in your mind, and all of that becomes a very, very live session. Okay, sometimes different things require different medium. So if the topic is such, and if the treatment requires a more in-depth interactive session, then in person is better. When you have to have constraints on time and bring the best people and thought in the room, digital sometimes can have a precedence, but then still with certain limitations on it. So my preference is the conferences. I know that Informa has different conference models, and in that you bring in the best of different diversified experience in one room. And I think people always have in the interactive session an ability to be able to go to the speakers or their colleagues or different industry cohorts and clarify things or ask questions which are open ended. So it will always, in my mind, it is always like this Guru Shishya Parampara, which was always never digital in our ancient traditional system. So there is clear advantage. So if you just ask me still that choose one, it is in-person conferences will score slightly higher than the digital.
Perfect. And as you talked about Guru Shishya, what really comes to my mind is it's that वृक्ष के नीचे हम सब बैठे हैं, and the Guru shares those moments of truth and shares the learnings. So, as very rightly said, how do we do all of that in an environment which doesn't trigger all the senses? Because when you are in that physical mode,
Correct.
I think all the senses gets triggered. You can touch, you can feel, you can sense. But probably in other channels, I think they have certain amount of limitations,
Absolutely.
and all of them cannot go cohesively.
Absolutely.
So thanks for those, the beautiful, lines which you put it across. It's which I certainly go back and start thinking about it. So coming back to, we have a upcoming a conference which is on NutraThink. So how do you look at a forum like NutraThink, and how industry or your peers should probably leverage or make the best out of it? Because I think the platform which democratize the whole process, gives that fair play to everybody, would have that power. So how do you see this can be leveraged?
So NutriThink is a great platform. We have been associated with it for a certain duration. What it does is it brings the science, the marketing, the innovation, and most important is the regulatory in one room, in one single conversation of a kind of in-person experience which is there. There was another great thought that was there, that what are the workforces of today? Okay, what is the workforce of today? The today's workforce will have multi-generational people working together. You have Gen Z, and then there are a few additional generations which I do not know even what to call them, because they are just 12 years old or 15 years old. Two generations which are like us and people even before us. So the baby boomers are also still in workplace. So all these generations have to learn from each other. Okay, they have different skill sets, they have different expertise, and they have domain expertise which are different. So within the different domain expertise, you have got the generational gap. I believe in holding hands of the next generation. This conference, for example, the maximum number of questions are there in the youngsters' eyes, okay, and they come up after the session is over, Usually I am part of many panel discussions, and the moment panel discussion is over, uh, uh, one of the large percentage of people are these young people who come in and they have questions, and that is so lovely because they want to learn from the previous generation. They want to get wise, and all of that is possible when you have a conferencing platform like NutriThink, and all this expertise, which is regulatory to science and innovation and all of that. And how do you learn from the previous generation? You don't do their mistakes. You don't repeat their mistakes. Very simple line. That is why you want to talk to them. Okay. I firmly believe that all youngsters have to make their own mistakes to learn and go ahead in life. But you can just reduce the number of mistakes by listening to the others. So NutriThink, in my opinion, remains a very valuable, accessible platform which should be taken advantage of.
So while talking to you, just also realize that how this also forums like NutriThink works for the industry, almost like a incubation machine,
Absolutely.
right? It's a place where
Absolutely.
people are forging partnership,
Absolutely.
people are learning, people are getting into next level of business, decoding technology trends. So I really like the way you present things in a very simplified manner.
So I would, Nabjeet, you are now kind of motivating me to think beyond. And Germany, which is one of the largest markets for us, and I have been working with Germany for last couple of decades. I like their one system which is called apprenticeship, where a person gets out of the college, even while he is studying, gets out into an industry, and he gets real life experience. Okay, that system in India is weak. You cannot replicate that in a conference like format, but we come very close because now you have young people, you have middle managers, and I'm sorry, but middle managers are the future leaders. Okay, and they have more questions than the young people, and now very qualified questions because they have experience, and they all get benefited through platforms like this, which are very close to the format of apprenticeship, because you meet different expertise at different experience level. So I just wanted to add that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. In fact, as I move to the more interesting part, which viewers will be really very happy to hear, is that, Mr. Nagre, that as an MD, one of the word which comes to all of our mind, and a very strategic word, but a word which is sometimes overused. But I really want to demonstrate and unleash the power of that word. So, Mr. Nagre, when as an MD, you have a vision, and I'm sure your vision is not just restricted to your company. I'm sure your vision would have a far solid impact for the nation, because you are that part of that coterie who's building nation. So how is your vision translating in building nation and creating a solid infrastructure, proactive, because we are talking about nutraceutical, so proactive healthcare wellness ecosystem. So your vision, which is essentially meant for your company, but eventually how it's impacting, in terms of nation or economy, and eventually this part of the industry. So
Yeah, so this is a broad question and needs a treatment which is slightly different. So I feel that we are part of healthcare. The societal needs are paramount, has to be paramount. You are solving someone's problem, okay? Some problem at the end of the day. And it has to be genuinely sorted out. That is the vision. Now, the vision has to be built on multiple platforms, okay? Trust, credibility, okay, are very deeply rooted. And I've earlier said that quality and reliability within the pharmaceutical space has to be pursued by the number one person, okay? At Fermenta, we have been having vitamin D3 as an ingredient, which has been something which is a legacy ingredient that you can say. The task that I had was to build forward from there, starting from there, but building forward. Now, from an ingredient base organization to an integrated nutrition player. Okay, what does nutrition mean? Nutrition means that it could be fortification, it could be nutraceutical dietary supplements, it could be integrated preventive solutions that you offer to people, and most important is also your obligation towards bringing awareness about the lack of nutrition or nutrition being a very important element in today's lifestyle. Okay. In everything that you do, I think on one side is strategy and on the other side is execution. In vision, disciplined execution remains paramount. Okay, if you have the best strategy, so they say that in army, if you forget logistic, you will never win a war. Okay, so it is not about shooting bullets in the front line. It is how do you continuously resupply them and rotate your frontline staff and all of that. So I think the devil is always in detail, and therefore a disciplined execution becomes very core to the vision that you build for, and you have to go down to the last layer in the organization to ensure first time right. What does it mean? Very simple. Train people to get it right first time, because any failures there, any lacunas there means more work, and it is at cost of the next round of good work because you are rectifying someone else's mistake. And invariably in organizations like healthcare and space like healthcare, when you make a mistake, it impacts organizations, societies at large, and everyone. So first time right is what is the vision that we try to build within our system and our premises.
So Nagre, in a very highly competitive market, uh, what is that edge which Fermenta has, or what is that differentiator factor which makes Fermenta uh, special over the peers?
So I think our differentiation comes from depth, credibility, and focus. Okay, depth means what? We have a molecule which goes into 6 different segments, which is pharmaceutical, dietary supplements, nutrition, nutraceuticals, food, veterinary, feed, animal feed, and rodenticide. Okay, it is necessary that you have depth in whatever you do. The first part. Okay, depth means what? You regulatory wise, you should be relevant to all segments in all geographies, in all life cycle groups, which means that our drugs, our products can go from infant nutrition up to the geriatric population. The regulatory from US FDA to North American infant food regulations to FSSC 22000 to BRC to US FDA approvals to EDQM GMP and FAMIQS, which is required in animal feed, to everything. So you have to have in depth. Okay, and as I have previously stated, the devil is in detail. So depth is very, very important. I personally kind of narrate to my team that we are narrow and deep. So it's a small portfolio and you have to go in depth. So that is there. Now in all other aspects, which is like supply chain, we have built resilience through backward integration, supply diversification, and few other engaging things, which are the market diversification. Again, in-depth understanding is required. We have subsidiaries in Germany, in Europe, and also subsidiary in US. Now those allow you to operate in those countries as if you are national there. So again, depth. Okay, so every single thing that you do needs depth. We come to innovation, which again requires depth. So again, narrow and deep. In innovation, you have to again build resilience through different aspects of innovation that we do. As an organization, we are focused on 3 things. One is nutrition. The second is green chemistry, which is helpful for the planet. And the third thing is we have the entire pharmaceutical. That is, the nutrition has fortification, premixes, and other things. Now, just to give an example, we have built a plant-based vitamin D3, and that comes through a deep understanding of what the market was missing. And a plant-based vitamin D3 comes out of a chemistry which is from plant, and again, very, very sophisticated cutting edge science on chemistry coupled with photochemistry which is used in this. So, the second aspect I told you is credibility. We have been around for a very long time. Credibility, as I've earlier said, is built through small steps and not one major leap. And as an organization, I think being compliant with all regulatory things. And secondly, your customer. The customer doesn't have to chase the organizations. The organization have to make sure that before the customer needs anything, that is called as customer delight. So we firmly believe in customer delight, where exceptional service, and I always tell my teams that we happen to be selling goods, but we are a service industry, and that approach has to be there, and anticipation of what the customer needs is central to that. So credibility is built in that, and focus. We are a nutrition focused company with, in addition, kind of in the green chemistry that we have, and we believe that focus is so central, because distraction, which is running after every single opportunity or theme or season, we see that in nutrition quite often, that it is a season of a particular ingredient or a season of a particular vitamin, that is not going to last forever. You have to build on your core strength, and that focus is therefore very, very important. So Fermenta's differentiation comes out of these three things.
So, as you spoke about staying ahead of competition, and I know, Mr. Nagre, that it's not easy, because to stay ahead, you have to be the best. You have to navigate through those challenging moments. You have to deal with those situations. So I'm sure you have your set of um, things which brings sleepless nights probably to you. So what really brings a sleepless night for you? Is it the supply volatility? Is it the misinformation? Is it the regulatory shift? Is it the consumer fatigue? Or it is something else? And how do you mitigate this?
So I think as a leader, you have to think forward, and every night that I go to sleep, I will talk about the waking up later, where every night I go to sleep, I want to make a difference, okay, to the industry at large, the society at large. And how do you do that? So what does this world want? It wants an innovative product which is sustainable, which is scalable, which is affordable. Okay, you can have an innovation which is so cutting edge that you cannot reach even 0.1% of population. I'm not saying that it is not necessary. It is necessary for that 0.1% people. But is that something that we want to do as an organization, or I want to do personally? My answer is that I want to make a larger impact. So want to reach maximum number of people. So I think it has to be relevant to the society. It has to be sustainable, which means that whatever you do has to be sustainable on this planet, because we have only got one. We have put in a lot of efforts in the last few 100 years to find some other life somewhere else on the universe, but we are so far completely, we have failed in that approach. So we do not know there is, we have only Earth as a planet, and it is a beautiful planet, and sustainable therefore is very important. Scalable, because it is a large number of population that you need to provide solution, and last but not least is affordable. Not everyone makes the same amount of money, and I think reach is very, very important, and through affordable care, because most of the world is based on a democratic society, okay, and large number of people. So if it is not equitable, it is not good enough, okay. So my sleepless nights when I'm kind of going to is unable to wake up in the morning and provide solutions on all these three things is what is my wake kind of. The thought is to bring the solution. Not being able to bring the solution is the what keeps me awake and also keeps me motivated. Okay.
Brilliantly put.
Thank
Brilliantly
you.
put.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Mr. Nagre, as you know, and you're well aware that India continues to face a significant burden of micronutrient deficiency, and particularly the vitamin D. So, how serious is this challenge for India, and which is largely for the public health perspective?
Yeah, so I think this is very sad that India is one of the sunniest countries on planet Earth, and we get more than 300 plus days of sunshine in this country, and we still remain one of the highest vitamin D deficient country in the world. Lifestyle has changed faster than awareness has. Okay, uh, indoor activities, uh, very hot outside climate which prevents people from going and doing outdoor activities, pollution levels, our skin type which is slightly darker, and many other different societal factors of not wanting to look darker when exposed to sun and all those kind of things have impact on the deficiency status. Uh, Vitamin D3 is not, deficiency is not a problem of poor or rich. It impacts all classes, economic classes. It also impacts all genders and different stages of life. Okay, so from pediatric to the working population to the elderly population, the deficiency is seen across all groups and genders also, male and female both. What we need to do here is understand the role vitamin D3 plays. It has been known as with the skeletal role it has, which is bone health, but it has moved beyond that. A receptor at cellular level would have about 250 different sites, receptor sites for vitamin D3. Its role has been studied now for last 10 years. It is the most studied vitamin in the recent time, and its deficiency has been now linked to chronic diseases like blood pressure, diabetes, infections which are there, chronic infections, and also many other things up to infertility. Uh, what we need is a proper understanding of what it does and how it can be rectified. So, what we need is a coordinated approach between awareness, screening, fortification, supplementation, and a large comprehensive understanding of making sure that where you can find it. Okay, a 15 to 20-minute exposure at noon in sun can give you enough vitamin D3 for 1 week. So that's where the deficiency is, the challenge is large, and a coordinated approach should help.
Just staying with what you just mentioned, fortification. So, how do you see food fortification can play a transformative role when it comes to addressing the hidden hunger in India? So, hidden hunger, is in the language what we use in our industry. For the layman, it is ensuring the nutritive food is being consumed. So this is for everybody's interest.
Yeah. So I think for the large audience and for their understanding, I would first like to explain what hidden hunger is. Okay. Hidden hunger, why is the word hidden and hunger? Okay. I mean, that is. So the meal provided is sufficient on calories. So you get the energy needed for the day, but it is lacking the nutritional content. Okay. And that is hidden hunger, and that's why it is called as hidden. Okay, just little layman's kind of explanation of that term. Now, nutrition and its role has been known to India for a very, very long time. I think it is among the very few civilizations which said, Anna is Purna Brahma. Okay. Now we knew how important nutrition is to our life. Okay. Different components of it. And when from the birth and when is it necessary? It starts with the fertilization itself, the mother, the woman who is conceived, how is her body ready to actually accept that journey of motherhood is where it starts. Now, any lack of nutrition throughout that journey, particularly in the beginning, can have serious consequences for the development. Now, we see news. I think social media allows us to look at things in terms of news reaches you faster, and we see that the temperaments, road rage is one of the kind of stuff. People just get down and start getting into a fight. It's definitely a problem which is involved with society, but has anyone looked at it from a perspective of nutritional deficiencies? Your cognitive development, where your thoughts are balanced and wholesome, is defined on the way that what you eat. Okay, how is nutritionally balanced you are, and I think that's where fortification, because we are now talking about large audience, and in that large audience, it is extremely essential to understand that how do you reach them, because there are two challenges. One is awareness, and secondly, reaching that mass population. And fortification as a strategy of staples is wonderful. And India has done significantly large initiatives on this to fortify staples, although it is not mandatory, but guidelines around it have been specified by Government of India through FSSAI in 2018 onwards. So we have significant amount of clarity as to what it is. Staples like milk, edible oil, rice, flour, and salt are the 5 things that have been chosen. The most cost-effective way of reaching nutrition to millions of people is through fortification, and it has been proven. What are the challenges here? Challenges is in the enforcement. All people, that is stakeholders involved in this system, have to be responsible and accountable for making sure that the quality and the original objectives of reaching those nutrients up to the last leg, because India is a huge country with different climates and changes, and huge infrastructure is necessary to deliver this. So right from the people who fortify, which is the industry, and the way it is enforced, the government and regulatory arms and the logistic of reaching it to the last mile, all are very important aspect in this entire chain. I think that fortification should come into mainstream, should be supported, and that is the only way that we can keep future India healthy and nutritious.
So, Nagre, what do you see currently the regulatory environment in India with respect to nutraceutical, and what do you expect, more to happen in this space?
So I think FSSAI is the nodal body, and it has done significant efforts to make sure that this industry is responsible. I think the regulatory framework helps bring about credibility in this entire system. Without credibility, this entire segment will kind of deflate itself. Okay, so it is necessary. A strong role of a regulator is must. Now, what does regulator do? Okay, regulator brings about enforcement actions when you make mistakes. And as an industry, I think that it is welcome. I mean, the industry has to be open to it. If there is a mistake, there has to be consequences. The framework has been defined pretty well between different parts, that is health supplements, nutraceuticals, functional foods, novel foods, food for special dietary purposes, food for special medical purposes. It is quite extensive, defined. Second, there is wonderful system through regional offices where you can go and ask questions and get clarity. That is also in place. I think claims is one important thing that kind of brings about a lot of friction between industry and the regulator. But it is an evolving landscape. So I think science-backed claims is what will always can be debated and discussed with the regulator, but it has to be science-backed, okay? And restrictions on those label claims is going to be central to again credibility. Okay, you cannot say कि ये रामबाण है, okay? अपने यहाँ पे एक word था रामबाण, तो ऐसा कोई दवा नहीं होती है, okay? Then I think one critical aspect is that there is a lot of domestic growth of industry because we have 1.4 billion people. We are the most populous country. Already the shift that we were earlier talking about from therapeutic treatment to prevention is already happened. Now with all of that, there is enough growth here. However, there is also growth opportunities possible. The way that pharma now dominates in exports, a large portion. Informa is at forefront of promoting India on that platform where India is now the pharmacy of the world. Similarly, I think diet and nutritional supplements, that space also has export potential. Now, Indian regulations and the need for harmonization and adoption of global standards and bringing about clarity so that this sector also from a inward focused to a employment oriented segment which is also generating growth from exports outside is necessary. And we have got traditional systems of medicine like Ayush is there, then Ayurvedic is there, and few other Indian traditional systems are there. Those have to be integrated in a framework where harmonization happens and therefore export is possible, and lot can be done on this particular aspect. The last but not least is, in my opinion, any growth which is not trustworthy, which is not reliable, which is not honest is not growth. And this segment has to have reliable, credible, long-term growth. That is what is necessary, and therefore the role of the regulator comes in and evolve, and all of us are going to evolve together. Regulator, the industry, the consumers, all are going to evolve together. And on that positive note, I think I remain very, very optimistic that we are headed in the right direction, and we have to work together, work very closely, and everyone has a role to play, including Informa, which brings all of us together on one platform. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Nagre. Just I thought this is a good moment also for us to end this with some quick questions. And I'm sure these are very compelling for the young leadership up there. What is that one leadership mantra you live by?
So for me, it is CCD. Okay, CCD is not the way that you have a famous coffee chain, not that. It is clarity, it is credibility, and it is determination. Okay, determination to provide a quality solution, determination to provide an honest solution is what is CCD is my mantra for leadership.
So from a global health challenge, if you get all the powers to resolve it instantly, what it would be?
I think it is well understood but less acted upon, and that is the micronutrient deficiency. Micronutrient deficiencies can create havoc, okay? And it can have very large implications. For example, for a functional democracy, how does a democracy work? Every single person, irrespective of his gender, irrespective of his social status, irrespective of his economic status, gets one vote, okay? And he has franchise, and he goes and votes. Now, if the cognitive development is not happening because of nutritional deficit, the democracy will fall on its face, because then you have got ideologies which can be change, you can have different things which can influence that one single vote. And in my opinion, to save democracy, you need audience, which is the population at large, to be also ready cognitively in a sensible frame of mind to exercise that franchise of that vote. So to me, it is very structural. It is very fundamental that if we address the macro and micronutrient deficiencies, if we look at nutrition through different vehicles, which is one is fortification, second is supplementation, third is most important is the Indian thali, okay, which has been forgotten. Indian thali was always a balanced nutrition. I would always first preference give to a balanced nutrition, a Indian thali, which our grandmothers used to serve us, which had all components of what was necessary and seasonal. It was also seasonal. And that should be the objective, okay. So that is what is most important. A balanced nutrition, which leads to a healthier society, which is able to exercise franchisee well and keeps the democracy alive. Okay, that is at the larger level.
As we move into the a proactive, wellness mindset in India, and as we know, there's a huge amount of opportunity in India because if you look at West, if you look at probably US, the market, the nutraceutical market is as big as the pharma market, almost as big as that. So India is just got started on this space. So what is going to be your advice in this huge opportunity which is up there for the young professionals to encash on in the future times?
So one line advice to the young professional is build credibility before visibility. Okay, everyone wants to be present, everyone wants to kind of be seen. Before that, I think you have to build credibility. Okay, provide science-based solutions to people, which should be helping the consumers at large. Okay, integrity therefore becomes very, very crucial, and keep learning as the industry and everything surrounding us is changing very rapidly. So keep learning. Okay, put your thinking hat. Keep learning is my last piece of advice to all the young budding nutritionists and the industry professionals who are there.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks, Mr. Nagre, for this amazing session of yours. And all of us from here signing off, but with that small, very positive note. This discussion, this absorbing discussion, this transformative approach, what's really going to change, what's up there, what you can learn, how you can create those great opportunities, the golden handshakes, all that coming up for you in live, in person, in NutriThink conference by Informa. So don't miss that and catch us live there and see us in action there. Thank you so much.
Namaste.